Welcome to the new video. On the 6th of December this year, my kids have asked me why we don't celebrate Christmas in the normal way. I don't have the heart to tell them the real reason. I am a 34-year-old woman and I have 3 kids. My husband always goes out on a work trip or something in late October and comes back for the holidays, which leaves me alone with the children. My youngest asked me why we don't celebrate it like the kids in her class, but I know that Santa isn't a he or a she. It isn't a person. The Christmas of 1996 was the Christmas I decided to peek on Santa. Maybe he'd give me more gifts, I thought. It wasn't only my idea, my twin sister did it with me too. So once we eat the Christmas Eve dinner, we'd go to bed and sleep. Then once we knew our parents were asleep, we'd sneak out of our rooms and confront Santa. That was our plan, but it sounded simpler than it was. As most of you are familiar with, parents usually give presents instead of the imaginary Santa Claus, but our family would try so hard with making Santa sound real. My sister was convinced that Santa wasn't real because of the fake disappearances of family members before Christmas. She always thought it was to put on a stupid costume in the shed in our garden. Back then I thought she was just trying to spite me. Once we got ready for bed, our parents instantly got to their beds like zombies. We decided it was their way to freak us out so we don't go see Santa. We giggled and made our way to the guest room where our aunt was sleeping, since it was the closest bedroom next to the living room where Santa would have been. Once we reached it, she was staring at the picture of Jesus while she was foaming at the mouth. When I think back then, it would have been a sign to stop, to go back to our room and lock our door, whatever to prevent it from getting inside, but we were stubborn and wanted to keep going. Our house had 2 stories, and imagine our surprise when halfway through walking down the stairs, our aunt greeted us in the living room, acting as if it was day or something. I didn't understand why it was only her, but at the time I started to get a bit spooked. "Hey, sis, I think we should head back," I whispered into her ear. I was sure whatever was standing in front of us wasn't our aunt. She was in her room looking at Jesus. But my sister wanted to go further. The thing made its way to the kitchen and started to make something that looked like pasta. I don't really know what it was. I begged my sister further to run back into her bedroom, but she still refused. This time the entity inside the kitchen heard our argument. "Bunnies, I think it's about time I go." We watched our aunt leave the house. The door closed behind her. We couldn't open it. It locked it or something. After that, we practically ran to the windows to see her leaving into the woods, definitely not to the shed behind our house to get into the Santa costume. We decided to look at what she was making, but the only thing left on the pan instead of the pasta was a bunch of burnt worms, which made us sick. We hid behind the Christmas tree, remembering our mission, and waited there until 12:30 when we heard grunting and keys turning, when suddenly something barged in. Something black, a weird ink was dripping from it, eyes slowly forming in the liquid. We looked at each other and pressed our bodies more and more against the wall to stop the damn thing from seeing us. I was more backed into the corner since I was more afraid, but soon enough my sister started digging under me to hide behind me. The entities seemed to grab the ink and form boxes of them, then slapping something on them that made a high-pitched noise, then formed the ink boxes into presents. The ink it was grabbing was slowly more tucked behind the tree, making it almost merge with the floor, the eyes looking at us. Some eyes looked like they were crying, but I'm not sure if they were. Its hand stretched behind the tree, looking for ink, but instead it grazed my sister's knee. It was only a little skin, but it was enough for it to realize. It grabbed my sister's leg and dragged her towards him slowly. My sister screamed and struggled against it. I could have saved her, but I froze. When I realized what was going on, I looked under the tree to see it swallowing her whole, while another eye was added in place of her body. The next words will haunt me for the rest of my life. Santa Claus only comes to good kids. They came from the monster, but it sounded so much like my sister, I swore I would never even mention Christmas to my kids. After that, the creature left as quickly as it appeared. I didn't dare to move from behind the Christmas tree, so I stayed there the whole night, afraid to move but also afraid to stay. I was woken up by my panicked parents with the Christmas tree lying on the ground near me, my father holding me in his arms. The only thing I could do was cry and mutter the words, "Santa Claus only comes to good kids." Later my parents told me that they were grateful that it only took my sister and that they were looking for me for a long time. Now it's Christmas Day. My kids seemed to sleep peacefully, which made me relieved. Relieved they weren't as stupid as I was. But when I came to their room, only my youngest was there. I ran downstairs, waking up my husband. There I saw my oldest lying behind the couch. Once I woke him up, my worst nightmare came to life. Santa Claus only comes to good kids. I don't know how I'll get rid of this monster haunting my family. I can't report it, they'll think I'm crazy. I don't know anymore. I just hope it will leave me and my kids alone.